When many people strengthen their body, they are focused on the numbers, the amount of weight that they're lifting, the amount of reps that they're doing, but there is an earlier marker that shows up for so many people that is a sign of them improving their strength and improving their muscle function. On this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we want to highlight that for you and talk to you about why that is so important and what things you can notice within your own life when this marker starts to show up. We're going to cue our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schoenberg. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
Today, we're discussing this idea of an early marker of improved muscle strength and function. See, so often when we go and we lift weights, we're doing our strength training, we're following our routine, and we might see that, our weights are staying the same, and we're wondering, is this even working? Is this even doing anything? And there's something that tells you you're going in the right direction that often happens for many people before those numbers start to go up. And that's what we want to highlight for you today. And we want to let you know that if you want to start taking action on what we're talking about today, that's exactly what we can help you with at our studio, Muscle Activation Schoenberg, where we specialize in muscle activation techniques. So all you need to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschoenberg.com, click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. So this idea of an early marker of improved muscle strength and improved muscle function, this is a really important concept to understand because it can stop you from feeling like I'm not making any progress. It can stop you from feeling like, is this even doing anything? This meaning your workouts, this meaning your MAT sessions, this meaning whatever it is that you are doing to try to strengthen your body, to try to improve the function of your body. This marker we see show up time and time again for so many people, especially early on when they first get started with MAT, with doing consistent strength training. And it often happens before the numbers in the weight room actually start to go up.
You're right, Charlie. And the thing we're talking about is you doing the things that you have always done, yet you're not getting the negative side effect or the negative symptom, right? So a lot of times when we think about, I'm starting a program to get stronger, I'm starting MAT to get better and stronger and all that stuff, we think about, so I'm going to be faster when I run. I'm going to bend further when I bend over. I'm going to be able to garden twice as long. I'm going to be lifting way heavier weights, right? We think of the number or the numerical change that we want to see. But one of the very first things that we see change in people is that, hey, you're doing the same thing that you were doing, yet you're not having a negative response to it. So it's almost like before we say, hey, let's go run and sprint with your body, let's just say, let's do what you're currently doing and make it so that your current state, your current activities aren't flaring you up.
Exactly. So instead of being like, okay, well, this is all going to be about me going further than where I am right now, it's like, no, this is about you not getting, like you're saying, Julie, as beat up, like life not taking as great of a toll on you. And then from there, once we realize, okay, yeah, like your body is able to handle life better, that's when we'll start to say, okay, now your body is able to go further and whatnot, all right? So what does this look like? A lot of times this looks like people come in and they say, hey, you know what? I was kicking a soccer ball around this weekend, and normally it's something that would, really flare up my hip and really flare up my back. And I'm not noticing that anymore. And it's not that they're noticing, their squat weight went up, or, they're able to kick the ball for, 2 hours instead of an hour or anything like that. It's like they're doing the same thing that they were before, but they're not getting that negative response. Additionally, it may also look like, hey, I was kicking the soccer ball around, and, I noticed some tightness in my hip and, a little bit of a twinge in my low back. But it really only lasted for about, 30 minutes to an hour this time, instead of me being bedridden for, the next day and a half. Like, we've had clients come in and tell us that they used to go out, kick a soccer ball around, and it used to just, completely wreck them for the next day or two until their body recovered. And they're like, yeah, now it just lasts for, about an hour max, and my body recovers, and then I feel like I'm back to my baseline. And those are all signs of improved strength and improved function of the muscle system. not noticing anything negative, or if something negative comes up, it is very short-lived. The intensity isn't as great. The frequency isn't as great. And so it's like, okay, it's not that nothing bad ever happens, but when it does, it's just more of a blip on the radar versus like, yeah, this is completely consuming my day now.
That's right. And one of the things that we see is like when your body is getting stronger, whether you're noticing it or not. When you notice it in this way, it's so interesting because it's like you're having, your normal daily life activities or sports on the weekend or your workouts, whatever is your activity level. And you either A, are noticing nothing, like what Charlie said, meaning you're not noticing that you're really having to recover at all. It's not leaving you sore, achy, beat up, joint pain, all this funky stuff. Or if you do happen to get that, right? I feel sore after my workout. Oh, my hip feels like a little bit flared up. That recovery process is like shortened down to like a lot of shortness, right? Like nothingness. And usually very early on in someone's MAT and strengthening process, that change in recovery time, whether it's there's no recovery time or it's really so short, is so dramatic in like a really amazing way. Like, wow, I used to jog and it started hurting my hip, and now every time I jog, I have this big flare up and I have to ice it for a week. Now, I just jogged and I did feel my hip, and by the end of the night, after I slept one night, woke up, felt fine. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Or I got back to jogging and I'm not feeling an issue. So no, you're not jogging further, but you're jogging without the symptom. Your body is showing you, hey, I'm tolerating this now. And that is literally the first step into going into progressing, right? Like if you're like, I can jog a mile, but I need to be jogging 3. Great, well, let's master the mile first, and then we'll go into 3. This is actually such a powerful point that I actually use it as something to look for when I'm working with people with their exercise and their weight training. Literally the first workout or workouts, however many that might be, I tell my clients, I am not looking for, this is really hard. I am not looking for, I made the next stride. I am looking for, can we just get a check mark, right? So like if I have a client come in and they say, and I'm asking them about their day or like what they normally do in their life, and I realize like, okay, this person does a moderate amount of workload. So their first workout, I'm probably going to do a moderate amount of workload because in my head, my perception, that's what they're used to. But they're used to doing a moderate amount of workload in their life, and it probably doesn't feel that good. That's usually why people come to see us. And so I'm saying, okay, let's just get a check mark, right? And do something structured, aka a workout, at a moderate amount of workload and just get the big green check. Because again, that is saying, hey, I can do some stress on the body. I can do some stimulus towards strength on the body without this negative response of, I have to now recover for a week or 2 weeks or 6 months, whatever it is. And what we see is that very early on, whether it's MAT or training like this, if we can be getting those big green check marks, which sometimes feel amazing to some clients, they really recognize it, and sometimes people don't recognize it at all, which is why we're doing this podcast. But it's like, hey, wow, I am doing this stuff with my body, my activities, my workouts, and I'm not getting that need to recover, meaning no noticeable soreness, no noticeable achiness. Or if I do, it is by the time I drive home, I feel much better. Like it was so minor. Like my body is strong enough to figure this thing out. That is a huge sign of strength. And again, it's literally when I train people, it's literally the first thing that I tell my clients that we are looking for. We're looking to check the box. We're not looking to soar above and beyond for the gold medal right away.
Exactly. So thinking about like how your body typically responds to your daily life, to your workouts, everything like that, and think about, okay, like what am I feeling in my body that's maybe preventing me from coming back and either doing it again the next day or feeling like, yeah, my body is totally ready to go now, to go and live my daily life again. Like, what are you feeling in your body? Is it a specific kind of joint pain? Is it, a muscle tightness somewhere? Is it just kind of systemic fatigue? Is there kind of a zinging feeling, when you lift your leg up, or, when you are taking a step, you feeling like something, along the backside of your leg, like, almost a sciatica type thing? Like what kind of symptom are you noticing within your body? And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a named symptom, but it's something that you are experiencing within your body. Again, it can be a tightness, an achiness, a pain, a fatigue, okay? There's something within your body that you're experiencing after your workout or at the end of your day that's either like, okay, now I know it's time that I need to slow down, I need to call it a day, I need to end this workout, I shouldn't come back and try this again tomorrow, whatever it is, okay? And pay close attention to those, because as you start to strengthen your body more, as you start to improve the function of your muscles more, those are going to be some of the first things to change. Not necessarily that they completely go away, but they may get calmed down quite a bit. You may not be as fatigued. You may not be as achy and sore. You may not be as tight. You might not have that same intensity of pain. Or if you do, it is more short-lived. It doesn't last as long. It doesn't come back as easily or as frequently. Your body kind of handles it on its own much easier. And so those are the types of things that are these kind of initial little signs of like, yeah, your strength is improving, your function is improving. Like clearly we can see it during the session on the table, on the floor lifting weights. Like, you're moving the weight with more control, you're moving the weight easier. We may not have gone up in weight, but you clearly, have better ownership over this weight. You have better ownership over your body. You are passing your muscle tests when we're doing MAT. You're passing your muscle tests easier. But if you're like, well, there's still this symptom going on, or this thing going on, it's like, okay, are we starting to notice those little changes of, you exert yourself, and then how does your body respond? Those are the first signs that we often see with people of like, yeah, we are definitely going in the right direction. You can do the same as you were before, and it does not take as negative of a toll or any toll, on your body in terms of how you feel like your body is responding.
Charlie, I love that you brought that up, where it's like you're looking for those little changes. And the reason being is that MAT works for so many ailments that people have. But I do know, like, as humans, we want reassurance that, like, hey, I'm moving in the right direction. And it's something funny about like the human brain. And I always use this example with my clients because it's like, I do not have like knee symptoms usually, like never, like I would not say like, oh, I have funky knees. Like there's other area of my body that I think needs like regular maintenance. But I do remember there's been phases of my life where my knees have felt like funky, right? And I remember one day I lay on the table for my MAT session and Charlie's like, oh, how are your knees doing? And I was like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, literally for the last, 4 sessions, you have brought up something with your knees. And it's like as soon as the discomfort in my knees are gone, my brain has now shifted somewhere else, right? Because we forget that stuff. It's like the human brain blessing, I guess, is like we forget all the discomforts that are not currently upon us, right? But they still happened and changed and got stronger, or changed because we got stronger, right? And so what's really cool is like when you are working with an MAT practitioner or professional or trained, personal trainer, whatever it is, they should be tracking these things, right? So they can be like, hey, well, remember like you used to go for your walk and this was a big issue. And to highlight to you, hey, that's a really, really, really big and important step that you are starting to notice less flare up from your current activities and or no flare up from your current activities or no recovery time from your current activities. And it's important to recognize these things because that's what our brain does. I think like some of our clients are like, yeah, I totally remember back then. And some like it gets erased right away. And I don't think there's definitely not a right and wrong, but our brains do that where we completely forget that like, wow, that used to be really tough or that used to be an issue for me. So just keep that in mind when you are like, okay, how do I know I'm making progress? Because again, our brains want to know, yes, I'm moving in the right direction. I'm making steps in the right direction towards being a stronger, more healthier me. And this is definitely the first benchmark that we often see that is sometimes a hit or miss, whether our clients see it or not.
Absolutely. So if you're working out, if you're strengthening your body, if you're doing something like muscle activation techniques to help your muscles get stronger, function better, and you're not sure if like, okay, am I really going in the right direction with things? This is one of the first things that we see improve with so many people, whether they're doing strength training or muscle activation techniques with us, is their ability to handle their regular activities and their daily life better without it taking as negative a toll on their body. So if you're interested in starting to take action on this and are wanting to work with us at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, all you need to do to see our availability and get our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. Click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We always appreciate your eyes on YouTube, your ears on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Wherever you consume our content, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a rating and review, it always means the world to us when you do. We are wishing you a fantastic week, and we will talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.